This animated diagram shows the mass of the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, sitting at roughly 500,000 tons. But watch what happens when dwarfed by the Great Pyramid of Giza. It weighs in at a staggering 5.75 million tons. Keep in mind, this massive structure was built around 2560 BC. Its engineers had no iron tools, no commercial wheels, and no modern lifting machinery. They achieved a final height of 482 feet by stacking 2.3 million individual blocks of stone, some weighing up to 80 tons. The pyramid's 13-acre base aligns almost perfectly with true north, a highly difficult calculation without a modern compass. Furthermore, during the solar equinox, the sun's precise angle reveals a subtle inward depression, effectively dividing the four main walls into 8. Structural anomalies like this have fueled centuries of speculation. Even the inventor Nikola Tesla studied the pyramid's dimensions, concluding that the structure was built to operate as a massive wireless energy transmitter. The physical evidence left in the archaeological record tells a different story. The Great Pyramid is a masterclass in human engineering and environmental problem-solving. The logistical hurdles begin at the rock quarries. The builders needed to extract giant, precise blocks of solid granite, but they only had access to soft copper tools, which bend against hard rock. The ancient Egyptian solution relied on dolerite, an extremely hard, dense igneous rock. They used heavy dolerite stones to pound tracks into the granite, and then drove completely dry wooden wedges deep into the natural crevices of the rock. By continuously pouring water over the dry wood, the timber rapidly expands. The swelling wood generates immense outward pressure, cleanly snapping the giant granite blocks away from the earth. Once cut, these stones, some as heavy as 80 tons, had to be moved from quarries located up to 800 kilometers away. Heavy transport barges carried the stones down the Nile River, but getting them from the riverbank to the construction site across deep desert sand required a technique known today as wet sand and friction. This side-by-side visualization demonstrates the physics at play. If you drag a heavy wooden sled over dry sand, the sand bunches up at the front, creating a physical wall. But if you pour water onto the sand directly in front of the sled, the moisture binds the sand grains together into a rigid, smooth surface. This simple chemical change in the sand's rigidity effectively halved the pulling force required by the ancient laborers. They didn't move mountains of stone by using brute force. They moved them by understanding the physical properties of their environment. Bringing the stones to Giza was only the first step. The final hurdle was lifting millions of heavy blocks hundreds of feet into the air. Traditional construction in ancient Egypt relied on massive exterior ramps made of mud and brick. That works well for the wide base of a pyramid, but building an exterior ramp tall enough to reach the peak would require more material than the pyramid itself, and it would collapse under its own weight. This 3D model outlines architect Jean-Pierre Houdin's internal ramp theory. It provides a highly viable solution for how the top 2/3 of the pyramid were completed. By leaving a winding, open corridor inside the outer perimeter of the walls, workers could slowly haul blocks up a gentle, structurally sound incline all the way to the peak. The mechanics of the ramp answer how the stones went up, but modern archaeology also answers who pulled them. Despite the popular Hollywood narrative, the Great Pyramid was not built by slaves. Excavations of the surrounding worker villages reveal a labor force of about 30,000 highly trained engineers and laborers. They worked in coordinated shifts over 20 years, lived in permanent housing, and were provided with plentiful, high-quality food. The Great Pyramid stands as a testament to organized, willing human cooperation on a massive scale. The location of the project was highly intentional. Ancient Egyptians believed the west bank of the Nile was the land of the dead, positioning Pharaoh Khufu's massive tomb exactly where the sun sets to aid his journey into the afterlife. The eroded, stepped mountain of muddy brown stone that tourists photograph today is actually just the exposed inner core of the monument. In antiquity, all 13 acres of its surface were encased in perfectly smooth, tightly fitted white limestone, polished to a mirror finish. Placed exactly at the peak was a solid gold capstone, known as a pyramidion. This piece reflected the harsh desert sun, acting as a blinding beacon visible from miles away. The outer shell was stripped away by time and earthquakes, but the solid inner core remains intact. Today, researchers are sending advanced robotics deep into its unmapped ventilation shafts. Robotic cameras have recorded red symbols painted by the original builders. These markings are currently being used to map structural voids, guiding the exploration of interior chambers slated for as early as 2025. The Great Pyramid doesn't require alien intervention or lost magic to be fascinating. It is a massive mirror reflecting the peak of ancient intellect, proving that our ancestors possessed the exact same capacity for ambition and genius that we do today.